Okay. Welcome. Oh, here comes George. Welcome, everybody. Good to see you all. Thank you for being here. Can I see a show of hands of people who are first timers to our door breakfasts? Okay, one. Indeed, it's good to have you here. We're trying to grow our organization because this is the time when we need growth. That is for sure. Before we get started, I would like to thank, as always, Jeff Dissinger
And Jen.
and Jenny Hurst, who are IT people, Shelley Haken, who is a board member, and she is also a board member, and she is behind the scenes at her house in Cottonwood, and she handles things from there. I also want to thank Ben Shore, who's outside collecting your money, and the programs chair for Democrats of the Red Rocks is Donna Martin, and she puts these great programs together for us. So thank you to all our support staff. I appreciate everybody very, very much. I want to make a couple of quick announcements. February 27th, next week, Church of the Red Rocks, 4:00. The Democratic candidates for Arizona Corporation Commission are going to be here. Church of the Red Rocks, Arizona Corporation Commission, if you don't know, is in charge of all of our utilities. They are like the fourth branch of government in Arizona. They are very, very important. There are 5 seats on this independent commission, 5 seats. Right now, all 5 are Republicans. There are 2 open seats that people will be vying for in November. The people that are coming here next week to talk to us are vying for those 2 open seats. They're Democrats. It would make a huge difference to have them on the Corporation Commission. So if you can make it next Thursday, this is all on our website, the Democrats of the Red Rocks website, which, by the way, we're going to have a huge unveil. We have redone the website. Our fabulous people, Shelley Haken and Lynn Grigg, have completely revamped our website so that it's easier to use and very easy to find things. And we've got a lot of great stuff on that website. So consult it anytime you want to find dates or things like that. So that's the 27th. March the 28th, Saturday, is the next No Kings March, No Kings 3. We are planning now, there will be one march in Cottonwood and another one in Sedona. So you can have your choice. The Sedona one will start and we will park at the high school, walk down 89A, turn left on Dry Creek, go to the library, that beautiful big open area at the library where we had Mark Kelly. And then we will have a rally there. We will have speakers, and we've got a great musician named Tommy Anderson. His name is Tommy Rocks. Awesome. He's awesome, and everybody's going to love him. So it'll be like a festival, and we will have a great time. So that'll be March 28th. Cora?
Do we have a targeted time for starting at this point?
We're targeting the start time at 10 a.m. at the high school, but get there early so we can get everything together. Bring your signs. Then the very next day, March the 29th, Secretary of State Adrian Fontes will be here. Now, as you know, it takes a lot of money to run elections everywhere, and especially in this state, because Turning Point USA is targeting our wonderful Secretary of State. So he will be here for a fundraiser on March the 29th. The invitations have not gone out yet, but you can put save the date on your calendars, and he will be here at a beautiful house up on Soldier Pass Road. So looking forward to that. A couple of things. I am starting to see cracks in the administration.
Oh,
I am starting to see many, many positive signs. This is something that I have not been able to say for many, many months when we were all just like, oh God. Well, we're still that way. However, some positive things have been happening. My hometown, an exhibit was taken down by the National Park Service. It was about slavery in America and the history of slavery. And the National Park Service was ordered to take that exhibit down, and exhibits similar to that all over the country had been taken, being taken down, but a court order said that that must be restored and put back. So there, you've got something positive. But there was not a single vote to indict Mark Kelly and the people that made that commercial. Not a single. So that's a positive sign. The troops they're being drawn down from Minnesota. I don't know if it's going to be a complete withdrawal. Who knows anything anymore, but they're being pulled back. That's kind of a defeat. Speaking of kind of defeats, this morning, I don't know if any of you saw the news before you got here, but oh my God. The tariffs. The Supreme Court ruled the tariffs are illegal. Yes, 6-3. This is, we're chipping away. The courts seem to be holding and they're solid. But let me tell you what gives me most hope. What gives me most hope is what I saw 2 weeks ago. Toby, you were there. The kids from Red Rock High School left school at noon and walked down 89A with kick-ass signs. And they were wonderful. And there was over 100 of them. And they were enthusiastic and screaming and yelling. I drove by and I thought, what's this? And they were like, every time anybody would beep, they were going crazy. This is what we need. This is what we need. We need the kids to help us, to be on this side. So we're not alone here. And this was so encouraging. So the end is not near. A group of us went to the Yavapai County Recorder's Office last week for something called a Follow Your Ballot tour. And we were there for 3.5 hours with the county recorder and the director of elections. And they showed us every single thing that happens with our ballots in Yavapai County. And I'm telling you, that is a wonderful system they've got down here. I have no questions. The county recorder is Republican, but she is devoted to doing the best job, being honest and above board. And everybody that went was incredibly impressed by the process that's happening in Yavapai County, despite the fact that our own Congressman Eli Crane said that Arizona elections are a joke. They're not a joke. I actually wrote to the county recorder and said, have you invited our legislators to this tour? And she said multiple times, they haven't come. Want to know. They don't want to know. It's just easier to throw stones and say things are fraudulent. So anyway, a couple of things. DORR is, well, we just came off a big fundraiser, which was very successful thanks to a very generous donation. We had our donations matched, and that was awesome. And I can't thank you enough for those of you who contributed. We are looking for neighborhood coordinators. These are not necessarily canvassers. Neighborhood coordinators and precinct committee people are people who will be assigned a turf, number of houses in their neighborhood, maybe 20, maybe 25, 15, whatever, it's up to you. You will design the number of Democrat and left-leaning independent houses you want to visit, and you become their contact for all things political. You will be given a card with your name and your email address on it, and you can hand it to people and say, you know, I'm your person. If you have any questions, and then you go vote, you go knock on their door again, maybe another time during the summer or in the fall, and then remind them to vote. And they can contact you if they have questions. Where's the polling place, or about this, or how can I vote absentee? We need people to do that, to take these little chunks, because talking to people is the way we get them energized. So I have a form that I will be passing around. If you would like to be a neighborhood coordinator in your neighborhood or some other neighborhoods, please let us know. We're also looking for helpers for the No Kings rally on the 28th. All kinds of, yeah, Toby.
I was going to say they could see me about that.
Right. See Toby after the meeting. We're looking for crossing guards. We're looking for people to sit at tables. We're looking for people to be trained as peacekeepers. Now, this is not like passing the bar exam. This is just What do you do to de-escalate? We want these marches to be peaceful. We don't want anybody in our lines to take the bait when somebody drives by and does that. We need to make sure that our things are peaceful and we don't give anybody any excuses to do anything to us. So if you would like to be a peacekeeper, please see Toby afterwards or any other things you'd like to volunteer for. George?
Yeah, the one thing that I have noticed the last time I was in regular Cottonwood 2 p.m. march is there are some people who have profanity and other kinds of signs that I'm thinking are provocative and are imitative of the foul things that
Right.
the right says. And I'm wondering if there's going to be some greater coordination on the kind of signage.
Yeah, that's a really good point. That's a really good point. We should have probably put something in the Mobilize about that. But in the publicity that's going out about that, I think that's a good thing to add. Because what are we there for? We want the people driving by us. We want when Robert Hubble posts our signs, the pictures of us and our signs, we want people to drive by and say, yeah, I agree with that. I think ICE is overreaching, or maybe the government should keep its hands off of this, or maybe it should keep. But if your sign says F Trump, then they just say, these people are rabble rousers, they're domestic terrorists, whatever. You want your sign to reflect something that people can identify with and say, yeah, I'm with those guys. So that is a really important point. Messaging is really, really important. The last thing I just want to mention is that DORR is looking for leaders. We have lots of positions that we need help with. And a lot of people have said to me, yeah, I really want to help, but I don't want to lead. Well, sometimes we need leaders. We do need some leaders. So like for letters to the editor group, I had talked to you about that, Diane, a little bit. Somebody to just to coordinate postcards, to coordinate voter registration, to coordinate get out the vote. We have somebody who said he's going to coordinate and help figure out ways to publicize the Arizona Corporation Commission, things like that. And if they're singularly focused on electing Jonathan Nez or Corporation Commission or get out the vote, then we know somebody's brain is full time on that thing. And so there is a survey on the DORR website. Take the survey or call. We have a concierge now, our volunteer concierge, if you please. Her name is Freddie Hamilton. And when people fill out the survey that says, what is your background? Can you do Google Sheets? Things like that. Freddie will call you and say, why don't we talk about where you'd be best utilized in the organization? So please go on the website and hit the survey, take the survey. That would be great. Another survey that's going to be sent to you is about these breakfasts. We want your input on content, on the place, the venue, on the time, all that sort of stuff. So it will take probably 2 minutes. Please fill that survey out. That one you will get via email. So without any further ado, and that was a lot of ado, I'm sorry. There's a lot to do. I would like to introduce Harrison Redmond. Harrison is with the Arizona ACLU. He is a community organizer and has a great background in this and has been doing this sort of thing for 10 years. We have a lot of questions, not just for our neighbors that are being targeted, but for us as individuals who may not be targeted, but what do we do if we see something? How do we handle that? So Harrison is going to talk to us about that. Then after Harrison, we're going to have Ann Emerson, who is our friend and neighbor, and she is working with Lori Ligario on an action group that is dealing with immigration issues at the local level. And then the very last person is going to be a woman named Kim Khatibi. I hope I said her name right. She lives in Flagstaff, was going to come here this morning, but they got dumped on with snow last night. And she sent me a picture of her front yard and she said, my street's not plowed. I'm not going to make it. So thanks to technology, Kim will be here with us on the Zoom. So Harrison, take it away. Welcome. Welcome.
And then All right, good morning, everyone.
Morning.
There we go. Good morning, everyone. Look, I woke up at 7:30. I'm wide awake now. Hello to everyone on Zoom as well. My name is Harrison Redmond. I'm a community organizer and lobbyist with the ACLU of Arizona. As civil rights advocates, we at the ACLU of Arizona proudly fight every day for the people of this state, in our courts, in the state legislature, and in our communities. We are truly proud to do this work and to protect and expand the rights that belong to all of us, regardless of where we were born, what documents we have, or which politicians hold power. It's no secret that we are living in a moment of urgency and uncertainty, where the rights and safety of immigrant communities are under direct threat. Policies are shifting negatively, the machinery of detention is growing more entrenched in our communities, and the toll on human lives is very real. Here in Arizona, a border state that you all know has been long used as a testing ground for extreme anti-immigrant legislation like SB 1070. What happens in this fight reverberates across the country. When we defend immigrant communities here, we are not just shaping our future in Arizona, we are shaping the national conversation about democracy, dignity, and due process. I'm going to ground today's remarks in the presentation in facts, because as we know, fear thrives on misinformation. We're seeing that at the state and the federal level. But I will also ground it in strategy, because our outrage, as much as we have of it, without action does not move actual policy. If we just do that, it's just venting. And while I love a good rant, if we want to actually change things for the better, we actually have to act. I recently had someone very important to me say that they love how I think about everything artistically. What I took as a very kind compliment. It also got me thinking about whether I do that in my political life and in my work at the ACLU. And I came to the conclusion that the joy of trying to see the good in people is paramount to the progress that we all want to see. That begins with seeing the beauty of the communities that surround us, including all of you here today and on Zoom. Choosing to gather together about shared passions based on both your experience and your observations of the world and the community around you, and the resistance that drives us all is similar to what I think art is all about. That's resistance, expression, community. That is what keeps us going and what ensures that we will win this fight. So on the topic of art, I want to begin today, like I do most of these presentations, with one of my favorite poems from Arizona's first ever poet laureate, Alberto Rios. His piece Border Boy, which was inspired by his childhood growing up in Nogales, came out in 2020. This piece contextualizes, I think, both today's relevance and the human impact, especially of one of our core issue advocacy areas at the ACLU and our topic of conversation today, which is immigrants' rights. Rios' story is applicable not only to our advocacy and to immigrants' rights and border justice itself, but to the very idea that to meet the moment that we're in, you must have your passion, your history, and your heritage drive and inspire you. He writes, "I grew up on the border, and though I left, I brought it with me wherever I've gone. Its line guides me, this long, winding thread of memory. The border wasn't as big as they say. It fit neatly behind my eyes and between my ears. It guides me still, I know, but it is not a compass. It is not a place out there, but a place in here. I catch on its barbed wire in both places. It is a line I step over and a ledge I duck under. I have looked underneath its skirts and it has caught me many times. We're old friends and we play the game well. When someone says border now or frontera or the line la linea or the fence or whatever else, we name the edge and the end of things. I hear something missing in the words, but what it all used to be. Its name does not include its childhood. I grew up liking the border and its great scar, its drama always good for a story, the way scars always are. A scar is the place where the hurting used to be. A scar, the heroic signature of the healed. The border is not a scar. Instead, it is something we keep picking at, something that has no name. The border I knew was something with a history, but this thing now, it is a stranger even to itself." Rios' words remind us that immigration is not just a political debate, but a lived history and a memory carried in the people who experience it. It is deeply human. In moments like these, when policy debates by those in power dehumanize entire communities, we must keep that humanity at the center of our advocacy. Because when we allow any group of people, whether it be politicians or our opposition or advocacy groups that want to see us dehumanized, when we allow those people to be reduced to statistics or dehumanizing terms or to line items in a budget, it becomes easier for those in power to strip our rights away incrementally and quietly. Now, unlike most people in politics, especially politicians, I usually do not like talking about myself, but one of the core tenets of organizing is relationship building. So if I'm going to ask you to be in this fight and continue being involved, I think it's only fair for y'all to know the person who is making that ask. So I'm a native Arizonan, born and raised in Phoenix to working class parents. I'm also the very proud eldest sibling of a younger brother and sister who are both integral reasons as to why I do this work. I moved out right at 18, could not wait to get out. And I first attended Pima Community College for my associates and then transferred to the U of A, receiving 2 degrees in political science and law. The communities I was surrounded by growing up in Phoenix and in Southern Arizona during my early 20s shaped the way that I think about advocacy and especially about immigrants' rights. I was lucky enough to grow up in diverse communities of immigrants, of working class people, of mixed status families who all exemplify the definition of just being a good neighbor. Despite thinking I'd never move back to Phoenix or even stay in Arizona, we all know life works in mysterious ways, and I now live there with my cat Ruth, who, yes, is named after Ruth Bader Ginsburg. She's a little smaller, but just as feisty. And to answer the question that's on everyone's minds, I do have pictures of her. As far back as I can remember, my family instilled in me through fierce debate, whether over a political topic or which movie to choose on Friday nights, a passion for advocacy. That started with things as mundane as convincing my dad to let my brother and I stay up late and play video games, to organizing a sibling strike from dinner as a means to get dessert, which was not successful. To now organizing across Arizona and debating with state legislators who would rather use your taxpayer dollars to strip your rights away than exercise the basic political courage needed to protect their constituents' civil rights. I got involved in this work not only because of my obvious disdain toward authority, but because of the people who have always surrounded me in support. My family, my close friends, my colleagues, and my community are who have always been there for me. I work every day with them centered in my mind. Now, while I do remain professional most of the time, I won't mince words with you today either, because I believe the moment we're in now calls for people to speak up and not beat around the bush. That being said, and excuse my language, but things are really fucked up right now. I understand that so many of us are scared for and angry about what this uncertain future holds, and those feelings are very valid. However, what I can say is this: the ACLU of Arizona and advocates like us and our incredibly dedicated and tenacious staff are with you, and the best way to get through all of this is as a collective. So for any who may not know, the ACLU stands for American Civil Liberties Union. We're a nonprofit, nonpartisan advocacy organization that has been fighting the power for over 100 years. The Arizona affiliate itself was created in 1959. We're behind big cases like the Miranda v. Arizona case, which gives people their Miranda rights. That was an ACLU of Arizona case. And we currently have a staff of more than 20 people working cross-departmentally. We have an organizing team, a policy team, legal, communications, and philanthropy on all of our issue areas. The founding members of our affiliate were volunteers, actually, who created this organization because, like all of us here today, they were regular people who were angry about the injustices they saw, motivated by the hope of progress, and wanted to simultaneously create change in their community and hold their government accountable. Every single gain in civil rights history, I think it's important to remember, from desegregation to marriage equality, was once called unrealistic, radical, or impossible by the same kinds of people we see today who continue to deal in fatalism and division. Progress has always required organized people pushing back against organized power. And I want to emphasize this: the ACLU is a nonpartisan organization. That means we're neither beholden to politicians nor political parties. We advocate without fear or favor for the protection and expansion of the civil rights and liberties of the people of this state. So you do not and will never have to face alone the new and unpredictable realities we find ourselves in today. Civil resistance, the work we do, the work you all do, and the fight for a country that serves all of us is not just about marching in the streets or chaining ourselves to the doors of power, though I will say those things have their place, and I love doing those as well. But it's also about the everyday choices we make to care for ourselves and for our communities. Our opposition, whether at the state capitol in Phoenix or in Washington, D.C. in Congress, they want us exhausted. They want us burned out. They want us hopeless. Rest and joy, those things that feel like they're in short supply now, they're not luxuries. They're essential tools of resistance because they ensure our movements remain both sustainable and effective. The ACLU has always been a home for civil resistance. I'm very proud of what I do. This is my dream job. I love it. Nationally, we have been there at every critical moment, from defending labor organizers in the 1920s to marching alongside the civil rights movement, to fighting the Muslim ban during Trump's first term, to Trump's now continued assaults on immigrants and queer people alike. And here in Arizona, the ACLU and our affiliate has carried that torch for more than 65 years, resisting racist immigration crackdowns under Sheriff Joe Arpaio and now Sheriff Jerry Sheridan, standing up for prisoners' rights, protecting LGBTQ+ Arizonans, and safeguarding our right to protest. Resistance is not new to the ACLU. It's our history. It's our present. It's the only way that all of us working together can have a collective future that's a hopeful one. Political advocacy and the issues we all deal with, whether it's immigrants' rights or First Amendment or anything else, can sometimes seem like they exist in separate silos. But I want to make something very clear. Immigrants' rights, the things we're going to talk today about, are civil rights. It's about due process. It's about dignity. It's about bodily autonomy. And in this political moment, with increasing claims and empirical evidence of executive overreach, surveillance, and force, including the murders of U.S. citizens Renee Good and Alex Preddy and Keith Porter, in addition to 34 people who have died in ICE custody, which is the highest number since 2004 when ICE was created. This work is why defending their rights is not peripheral. It is central to the health of our democracy and to our push for change. Due process does not come with an asterisk. Constitutional protections do not just apply to citizens, it applies to the people. And if those protections can be eroded for immigrants today, they can be eroded for any of us tomorrow. So this morning's presentation is going to cover those immigrants' rights and how all of us, whether undocumented, part of a mixed status family, or citizens ourselves, can help in the fight against authoritarianism and Trump's cruel policy of mass deportation. We'll also cover the important basics of your First Amendment, specifically around peaceful protest, with many protests coming up and no kings, and how best to ensure that either here in Sedona or anywhere across our state, you can effectively and safely show up for yourselves. We'll also have some time for questions at the end, but if any part of the presentation piques your interest, please feel free to raise your hand. So we will get started. Next slide, please. Told you I'd show you Ruth. This is her. Just as feisty as I promised. She is very upset that I'm here in Sedona, but I told her that it was to see all of you, and she understood. So like I said, I've been with the ACLU of Arizona for just over 2 years. I do community organizing. I'm also a registered lobbyist, so I do a lot of work at the legislature. We've been there actually all week. And we just testified against the whistle ban that was introduced by Senator Kavanaugh that would have not only banned basic gestures and blowing whistles and things like that, but it also would have criminalized exactly what we're doing here today. Know your rights education, which is, again, not only constitutionally protected speech, but very important to do to ensure that we know our rights. And I think if people like Senator Kavanaugh or Senator Hoffman or people in Congress who are against our civil rights are saying that we are doing things that are illegal and introducing legislation to try to stop us from doing those things, I think we're doing something right. So we're going to continue to do that. And we will go to the next slide. All right. So how, by show of hands, who's been to a Know Your Rights presentation before, either on immigrants' rights or anything else? Perfect. Mixed bag. Love it. Well, you're going to hear some of the same things and also some of the new things, because as we know, things are changing at even more rapid than daily rate at this point. So it's important to know what's going on, how best to show up. And it starts with these basics here. So emphasizing that, anytime we do these presentations, I try to emphasize that you do have the right to remain silent, do not have to discuss your immigration status or citizenship status with police, ICE agents, or other officials. It might feel a little silly to do this, but when you're exercising your right to remain silent, or you are exercising any right like that, not only filming that, especially if it's in interaction with law enforcement, but also saying so out loudly and firmly, saying you're exercising your right to remain silent. I will not answer questions without counsel present. It might feel a little weird to do, but when filming law enforcement, and especially having evidence and records of what has happened to ensure accountability and safety is really, really important. So we encourage folks to do that. If an immigration agent asks if they can search you, you have the right to say no. If you are at work, you can ask if you are free to leave. If so, calmly walk out. That again might seem a little weird, asking if you're free to leave your own workplace. But this is a big part of immigrants' rights. Justice and know your rights education is about harm reduction. So making sure you understand not only your rights, but your risks in any situation to reduce risk to yourself, those around you, especially those who are being targeted by ICE right now. And we will go to the next slide. So, and this, I understand a lot of this is going to seem a little grim, but there is some hope, so just stick with me. We are encouraging people to, carry your immigration papers on you at all times if you're over 18 and either have mixed status or you're in the process of getting a green card or your citizenship, anything like that. Any documents that you have are always helpful to have even a copy of in your car or on your person, just because we have seen ICE and even, local law enforcement racially profile people just because they are brown and walking down the street, again, reminiscent of not only our entire history, but of SB 1070 times here. So we are encouraging people to carry those papers to ensure that anything that, people try to give you, grief about, you're able to protect yourself and those around you. If you're not a US citizen, but are documented, so you have a visa, work permit, DACA, or a green card, things like that, and an immigration agent, that's an ICE agent or DHS or Border Patrol, asks to see your immigration papers, you do technically have to show them. But a small little loophole in that is that they still need probable cause to ask you for your papers and to ask you about your citizenship status. So we try to, again, reduce harm, make sure that people are not interacting with ICE or law enforcement if they don't absolutely have to. And also, like, all of us who want to show up in this fight, even if our citizenship is not in question, this is a way that we can protect our communities too, making sure that those that this would directly apply to know their rights, going around our communities, sending this out to social media, so on and so forth. If you do not have your immigration papers and are asked for them by an immigration agent, you just want to tell the officer that you want to remain silent and you want to consult a lawyer before answering any questions. And we'll go to the next slide. So I split this up into home, workplace, and school. Most of these are like pretty much the same, but there's a little nuance to each one that I think is important to mention. So at the beginning of the Trump term, we saw a lot of basically home visits is a weird way to call them, but ICE would go up to random homes, knocking on doors, whether or not they had a warrant to try to find people. That's not only here in Arizona, that was happening across the country, North Carolina, LA, and in Minneapolis. If they come up to the door, that is somewhere where you are relatively safe. That's where you can have, them put the warrant up to the window or up to a screen door. We encourage people not to open their doors. And make sure they ask for a warrant. We have the difference between a judicial and an administrative warrant later, which is really important to remember. If the agent or the officer asks to show you a badge or an ID, you want to show that through the window or have them slide it under the door, or if there's a screen door, anything to not give them any excuse to be able to walk in. Because if you open the door and let's say they see a knife on the counter, but it was because you were cutting vegetables to cook or something, they could see that and then they could say that they felt like their life was in danger and that's now probable cause, and now they're able to go in and they're going to search everything. So we don't want to give them any excuse to abuse the power that they already abuse to the extent that they do. And third, you want to ask the agent if they have a warrant signed by a judge. Again, I'll show you the difference. But a warrant signed by a judge is called a judicial warrant. That is the only kind of warrant that any law enforcement, specifically ICE too, can use to search your car, your person, your home. And even in that judicial warrant, it's very limited in scope. So it's whatever the warrant says, whatever the judge says, that they can search. The reason that ICE doesn't usually use those and tries to use the other kind of warrant that I'll show you later, which they call deceivingly an immigration warrant, is because you have to go to court. ICE has to go to court, prove in front of a judge with probable cause, with evidence, with backing, that they can search your home or they can search your person, or it's for an investigation. That is very hard to do. That is a high bar to reach, which is why ICE doesn't do that. They want the easy route. They want to racially profile people and fake a warrant and pick them up. An immigration warrant is worth the paper it's written on. They can write it on the way over there. That does nothing to allow them, to question you, to search your person, your car, or your home. And I will have the difference in those that I just have a picture on my phone of too, that I can send out to people, that I send out to folks who want to know the difference, because it's really that simple of knowing the two differences. If you see one and it doesn't have a signature by a judge, or it doesn't have like any writing on it, or it doesn't say U.S. District Court at the top, that's a fake warrant. That they can't come in your home. We'll go to the next slide. So I think one more down. Perfect. So school know your rights. As we talked about, we have seen a lot of students, especially high school students, which is incredible to see, walk out and protest not only the current administration, but push for change that they want to see. Because as we all know, young people have been at the forefront of a lot of these fights, and they are also the ones that are going to have to deal with the mess that this world, has created. So I think it's really important that we show up for them. A great way to show up for them is not only by supporting them, directly, but ensuring that they know their rights here, which is why we include this in the presentation. And I know it's a lot of information, but just a quick caveat. I sent this whole PDF to Donna, and this can be sent out to all members. All of this information is public facing, and you're able to use it as you'd like. So what's called a Plyler right was from a famous Supreme Court case called Plyler v. Doe in the 1980s that decided that public schools must teach all students free of charge, regardless of their immigration status. This is something that we've had to keep in mind a lot over the past year of Trump's second term. We have seen ICE agents try to go into schools, both middle schools they tried to go into in Green Valley. Luckily, the administrators there knew their rights, knew that they didn't have a judicial warrant, knew that the kids there, whether undocumented, were allowed to go to school because of this court case, and they sent the ICE agents on their way, which is why it's so important that even if you are not directly affected, materially affected by this, and you are a citizen, these are ways that we can show up for not only the youngest in our generation, but also our community members surrounding us. Students have the right to attend school. Schools cannot inquire about students or their parents' immigration status. So again, ICE cannot use that as a rationale to try to get into a school. And it's no surprise that they are going after the most vulnerable, going into a majority Latino school district and going to a middle school. We have seen them camp out not only in Arizona but in South LA. In Minneapolis, camp out outside of schools where they know that there's a high immigrant population and waiting for the parents to come pick up their kids, and they will pick up people there. These are ways that we can show up for our communities. We can show up, we can, organize something as simple as like a ride share or, connect people with like Facebook groups and things like that, where, I know I'm not worried. I know I'm not going to be racially profiled. I can pick your kid up and make sure he gets home safe. That's a way that we can all show up for each other, and a way that I really emphasize that people should get involved, because we think that there's all of these big things that we have to do in political advocacy, or you need this background, or you need a certain education. I think every single person I talk to who wants to get involved and who does at least one small action is an organizer in and of itself. And this is one of those direct ways that you can help that might seem small in the moment, but means so much to that family. We'll go to the next slide. So this is the difference between judicial and immigration warrants. So this right here, judicial warrant, looks very professional, right? U.S. District Court, search and seizure warrant, has the case number right here, signed by the judge right there. All of this right here is the scope of what the search can actually be. This that looks like a sticky note that I wrote to my pet sitter is nothing. It makes no sense. There's check boxes, never seen. Warrant of removal / deportation, again, does not allow them to do anything with that. This means nothing. This actually allows them to search. But even then, when you see, if you were ever to see this, you want to make sure you check that scope too, because that might say, well, they can check your backyard, but not inside of your house. But if you see the judicial warrant and you don't read it because you don't know that there's limited scope on there, you might be like, oh, well, shoot, they have a warrant, they can come in now. Really important to know the difference. I keep a picture of this on my phone, send it out to people as much as I can, because it's, they make it purposely confusing, all the legal jargon and the different paperwork and all of this different stuff. It is so simple to look at that and know what is the difference between these two, and something as simple as knowing the difference between two pieces of paper can actually make sure that someone doesn't get kidnapped. Yes.
And I assume the judicial warrant is almost always in English and not in any other language?
Yes, it is. And which is why it's also important that we actually are working with a group now, Puente in Phoenix, that is doing community canvases of bilingual know your rights information, dropping off things. I know we had talked about the zines that we have up here that are in English and Spanish, making sure people can get that as something we want to push out. Yes.
Is it always from a district court, or could there be other courts that could also issue a valid warrant?
It'll always be from a federal district court. Yes.
Could you send this slide to our DORR office so that those of us who would like to send on, my kids live in LA.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
And I'd like to send her a copy
Yeah.
of this.
Of course, definitely. Sure, I got everything on there. Didn't want to miss anything, but yes, I think we're good. All right, we'll go to the next slide. So again, like I said, some of this is grim. We'll get to the better stuff later. This is the worst case scenario, right? ICE or CBP, which stands for Customs and Border Patrol, detention, arrest, or detainment. This is something we want to avoid at all costs. But if it happens to one of us or one of our community members, or one of our neighbors, it's important to know how to go about that. So if you're arrested by police, you have the right to a government-appointed lawyer. However, if you are arrested by ICE or DHS, you have the right to consult with a lawyer, but the government is technically not required to provide you one. So some nuance there. Under the Sixth Amendment and associated precedent, if you are arrested by police, that's county police, sheriffs, state police, state troopers, you have the right to an attorney, and if you cannot afford one, the state will provide one to you. But if you're arrested by ICE or DHS, you only have the right to speak to an attorney or consult with an attorney, but the government does not have to provide you one. This obviously creates a massive discrepancy in not only legal representation, but also access to any kind of the information that people who are going through the system who just got picked up and have no way to navigate it really affects people. So I think it's really crucial to support groups that do this like en masse legal representation, like the Florence Immigration and Refugee Rights Project that operates in Southern Arizona. And there are other smaller legal aid organizations that will go into these detention centers and give them, legal aid training or be, en masse legal representation. But, the administration also knows that those groups do those things and recently slashed the funding of a lot of these groups who do this legal representation to make it as hard as possible to get in those detention facilities. So anything we can do to avoid getting to that point is really important.
So if ICE arrests you, they don't Mirandize, is that correct?
Correct. A lot of them have
It's
because
similar to that they say something.
they should Mirandize you, but again, when it comes to an immigration warrant, they're not technically picking these people up because they don't have jurisdiction to do that. The police do. They're not picking someone up for a crime under a criminal statute. They're picking someone up for a deportation order or removal proceeding that might be based in a crime that
So
person
it's not
committed.
technically an arrest.
Correct.
Okay.
It's we should call it what it is. It's a kidnapping. So if you are arrested, we encourage people, do not discuss your immigration status with anyone but your lawyer. You do not have to answer questions about where you were born, whether you are a U.S. citizen, or how you entered the country. Again, that right to remain silent is really, really important, not only during protest or being picked up, but also when you are in those proceedings. Also, if you are a citizen of another country, you have the right to contact your consulate, and that's something that groups here can help you do, and they might be better suited to help out with legal representation, things like that too. Go to the next slide. So I have this up here, and again, this is something that can be printed out and sent around to folks. I won't go through all of these, but this is kind of what we encourage people to do, especially if they are of mixed status or undocumented, or are going through proceedings and quote unquote doing it the right way, which the administration, surprise, doesn't actually care about that, and they put ICE agents outside the court and pick people up after their hearing. So these are things that we can make sure people remain safe and also prepare themselves and their families if need be. So that's the important documents, the emergency contact plan, emergency folder and bag, childcare, making sure all of that's situated. This is another way, in addition to those rides from school and to other places, that you can help out your community. Make sure that they can get these things together. Make sure that they know the importance of this and why, if the worst case scenario happens, at the very least, your family will have some next steps and somewhere to go from there. We'll go to the next slide. So as all of us know, the ACLU and everyone here in this room likes to cause some good trouble and likes to protest. I think it's very important to do that. I can be confrontational to a fault sometimes during those protests, but it's important to know your rights and your risks going into that. And all of that is based around the First Amendment. So I think it's important to know the difference between what a lot of people think the First Amendment is versus what it actually is. So what the First Amendment is, it is the freedom of speech, the press, religion, assembly, and to petition the government. There are major limits on that, though, because these rights apply to government action. It is, freedom from the government infringing on your rights here. It does not apply to private entities, private businesses. They're able to impose a lot more restrictions than the government or like a public entity, like a public school would. So it's important to remember those two things. Go to the next slide. So some key policies and limits on speech. There is Article 2, Section 6 of the Arizona Constitution, which says every person may freely speak, write, and publish on all subjects. And this provision ensures the right to express oneself, but does include a caveat that individuals are accountable for any abuse of this right, such as defamation or incitement. Those are those very specific restrictions when it comes to what the government can impose on you when it comes to speech. So public streets, parks, sidewalks, a lot of these places that we're having these protests at, or these school walkouts, those are places that are called public easements, public property. Those are places you have the strongest First Amendment protections. The place you have the weakest First Amendment protections are, those private businesses, private property. And so permits are required for, large events, and, private property and business owners are able to prohibit protest or call law enforcement and, have you trespass. But that's why it's important to, be prepared for those things. If it's going to be a large event like No Kings or something like that, working with, local officials can sometimes be helpful, but it's also important to keep in mind that what you're trying to do when it comes to protest is the most important thing, and public officials should ensure they work as hard with you as they can to protect that First Amendment right. The couple restrictions, I think it's important to mention because it's different than what politicians at the state and federal level are pushing out, that, you know, me saying you have the right to remain silent should be a misdemeanor, or, you know, that saying ICE is killing people is a lie, apparently. There are only a few restrictions that the federal government can actually put on speech. That is true threats, fighting words. Those things have not really been adjudicated that much, which is why it's still a little bit of a murky area of law. So true threats are speech that expresses a serious intent to commit an act of unlawful violence against a particular individual or group. And then fighting words are words that are likely to provoke an immediate violent response from the person you know, whom they are addressed. There's a famous Supreme Court case that some of you might know called Brandenburg v. Ohio. That was a case that put in place basically the strongest protections we have on First Amendment right to free speech, and something that we mentioned in our pushback to Senator Kavanaugh about the whistle ban, where any speech that the government is trying to criminalize or restrict must meet that two-pronged test of Brandenburg. That is that the speech itself is intended to commit unlawful action and is likely to incite unlawful action. So, you know, we think of the example of you can't yell fire in a theater. Well, that's technically not true, because if it doesn't meet that two-pronged test, it's technically still protected speech. So if I yell fire in a movie theater intending for people to get up and have a mass exodus and maybe some people get hurt, that could be something that could be restricted. But let's say I watch like a really good scene during the movie and I say that scene was fire, which I have never actually used that word to describe anything. But let's say that did not have the intent to cause that harm, so it would be still protected speech. It's really important that, you know, to understand that there's some murky areas to the First Amendment, but facts are very important, and the, you know, state of play is very important, which is why when we're protesting, filming that, speaking about your rights, educating others about it is, you know, really the first thing that you should be doing. We'll go to the next slide. So coming up with no kings, other protest actions, even things, you know, like petitioning your government, we know that there is a lot coming up, and I think it's important to know what you can do, which is arguably more than you can't do. Now, this is not, you know, said to assume age whatsoever, because this is arguably the best group of people I've ever gotten the pleasure of speaking in front of. But while some of you, you know, this may not apply to you anymore when it comes to schooling, it does apply to others, and it's important and crucial. I think that we not only teach our students about their rights, but also join them in solidarity with that. Young people, like I said, have historically been at the forefront of these movements. I think it's really important to try to talk with them as much as possible, try to bring them in, because they have, my sister is one of them, they have a lot of passion and anger, and it's, you know, incumbent upon us who have, you know, gone through this a little bit more and have, you know, that life experience to, you know, help show up for them in the best way we can, because the federal government tear gassing a bunch of high school students and, you know, ICE brutalizing, you know, people in their 20s just for being out on the streets to protest, I think is reprehensible and something that we should all push back against. And we will go to the next slide. So these are some resources. We have rights.us, the ACLU National Immigrants Rights Hub, you know, shameless plug. I guess love what I do, but I think, and don't tell my work I said this, I think this one's actually the better one. This is a much more exhaustive list, you know, bilingual. This is very similar to a lot of the information that we have up here that is up for grabs for folks afterwards. But it's important to have those resources. We know that to be involved in the issue of immigrants' rights is not just about knowing your rights and educating others, but understanding that real human impact as well. So just some, you know, quick stats before we get into the helpful stuff. On any given day, ICE here in Arizona, you know, detains roughly 3,000 people, which is roughly 10% of ICE's total detained population nationwide. That means our state, as I said at the beginning, plays an outsized role in the national detention infrastructure, and a system that repeatedly has been documented as abusive, as negligent, and as deadly. So we need to be clear-eyed about what that machinery looks like. That is expanded detention contracts, increased collaboration between local law enforcement, that's those 287G agreements that you might have heard about, and federal immigration authorities, and a normalization of treating migration as criminality rather than humanity, because it is pure luck that we were born here and other people were born somewhere else, and they should not be criminalized for existing in that way. Some of the largest ICE detention facilities in the country are also here. Not the best way to make Arizona famous. Eloy Detention Center and La Palma Detention Center are two that are up and running right now. You might have heard some news about the surprise facility that was just purchased by ICE. And then there is also one that is in the works right now that was purchased by MTC, which is a private prison company in Marana. And that one is still, up in the air, and we're pushing back against that. We're pushing back against all detention expansion. But those are, things to keep in mind. Also things that that sale of the Marana prison population, or the Marana prison, that will now be used as an ICE detention facility was, that sale was approved by Governor Katie Hobbs. That's not said necessarily to try to sow division of any kind. I think it's very important that we, remain close with the people who are allied with us, especially as a nonpartisan group on civil rights. But it also is important to remember that regardless of party, people will make decisions often that are profit driven and not people centered. And I think that's something that, we as an advocacy organization don't necessarily pull those levers of power in the same way that politicians do, but it's important to us, and it's incumbent upon all of us to, hold that truth to power. I think we'll go to the next slide. Now, this obviously all sounds despicable and inhumane, and it is, but the system is not inevitable. It is built, maintained, and funded by these private for-profit companies. So when we allow mass detention to expand, we enable that powerful tool of state control. These policies are choices. These contracts that Katie Hobbs signed are choices. These budget allocations that the Arizona legislature is working on right now are choices. And what is built by policy can also be dismantled by that same policy. So now that you are, hopefully fired up, but maybe a little depressed about everything, let me give you something to do about it. We know from history and our present day reality that authoritarianism thrives when fear and isolation are normalized. That is why Trump won in 2016, and in 2024, he divided people. He made them angry about their neighbor. He made them angry about the existence of a queer person. That is not what America is supposed to be about. People come here for the opportunity. They come here because the rights apply to everyone here, not just citizens. That's not who we are. That's something we should, always push back against. And we have the power to push back. So this is where you all come in. That real change happens with things like community defense, community organizing, and sustained pressure. So you can join community defense networks. That's rapid response networks, know your rights teams, mutual aid groups, faith coalitions. All of those are crucial. You can train and educate. Do a know your rights presentation yourself. The ACLU is happy to help you help others, educate them about their rights. I can send this presentation. I can work with you one-on-one so you can do your own presentations in your own communities and circles. Furthermore, demanding oversight is very crucial and something that we can't necessarily exercise as members of the public, but our elected leaders can. And so holding them accountable regardless of party and urging them to, have oversight and criticize these detention facilities are really important. You can also support incarcerated people directly, sustain pressure. And it's important to understand that this is a very long-term fight. The last, 13, 14 months has felt like 20 years to me, which is crazy because I'm 27. So I feel very old at this point. But this is that long-term fight. We want you to stay engaged. We want you to stay loud. We want you to actually keep up that hope by pushing those in power to hold ICE and hold this lawless administration accountable. Authoritarian movements like the Trump administration, they rely on short-term public attention spans, which is why it's really, really important to remain cognizant of what these rights are, of what's going on. And that discipline organizing is what actually pushes back. I'll go to that next slide. So here's just some, recap and top lines, all things that, we've already discussed. First Amendment, stay calm, don't, run, harm mitigation, remember why you're doing this, and center the people that are directly impacted. I'll go to the next slide. So some next steps. This group that I talked about, Puente, they are a rapid response group. That number right there is available to call or text. It is a statewide number. They're based in Phoenix, but it's statewide. If you see ICE activity or you hear about ICE activity, especially if you have photos or videos of it, you can send it to that number. They push it out to the rapid response team, make sure people can mobilize as quickly as possible. FERP also has potential attorney help. There are some signal chats that I can add folks to if they're interested in that kind of advocacy and things like that. So I wanted to close today with a few thoughts about what organizing and advocacy look like going forward in mine and in the ACLU's eyes. Today's political environment, it can feel like there are waves of bad news and new things to be angry about just incessantly crashing over us. And as someone who has been taken out in a riptide in the ocean, that pales in comparison to having to deal with the bullshit of this administration. I think it's very important to remember that neither we at the ACLU nor any of us here have the answers for what the future looks like. But again, I want to reemphasize that we are here for you and we're here to support in any way that would best help. I want to emphasize too that I'm always going to be here in this fight for you because much to the chagrin of my dad, I have no plans to go to law school anytime soon. So I'm going to be in this fight for the long haul. And I hope you all will too. I want to acknowledge that political and advocacy work is, made unnecessarily confusing and convoluted, especially for people trying to break into it for the first time or doing so in this political environment. I believe that's done by design, by those in power, to further divide and otherize people who truly do, I think, have more in common than what separates them. So regardless of your background, your education, or your capacity, your voice and your opinion matter. Politics is not a dirty word. Not that, I have to worry about this with any of you, but politics are the issues that we all face every single day. Regardless of whether you care about politics, I like the saying of, you might not care about politics, but politics sure as hell cares about you. And it's important to keep that in mind. Civic participation, the things we're doing today, the things we're going to do with these upcoming protests and our continued advocacy is not optional if we want our democracy to survive and our communities around us to thrive as well. Despite everything we continue to face by that government and by those who wish to see us subjugated and subdued, I still have hope, surprisingly, when I do this work, because of people like you all, people who are passionate about political work, because of the people it uplifts rather than those it denigrates. The fight ahead is a marathon and not a sprint, which is an overused term, but it's so true. And therefore, it's paramount to find pockets of joy in all of the chaos. For example, the glass of wine I'm going to have later tonight when I hopefully close my laptop is a pocket of joy. Spending mornings with my cat, Ruth, while she yells at me for breakfast is surprisingly a pocket of joy, no matter how loud it gets. And today's gathering with all of you is absolutely one of those pockets of joy. It's no secret that the challenges ahead are going to be overwhelming, but I still believe in the power of collective struggle, and I really urge you all to do the same. John Lewis said that the power of people is greater than the people in power, and that truth is what we lean into. Through organizing, educating, demanding justice, we can build a future where no person lives in fear of detention or subjugation simply for existing. Hope is not naivete. Hope is disciplined. It is something we practice through action. Sure, it's a catchy, slogan for successful presidential campaigns, but hope is not passive. It can and it should be actionable. So I want to leave you with this. One of my heroes is Fred Hampton. Show of hands, anyone know who Fred Hampton is? There we go. Love this group. Knew it. Hampton, at only 21 years old, was the deputy chairman of the Illinois Black Panther Party in the 1960s. He was a staunch believer in the power of people, and specifically the hope that through organizing, through coalition building, and just plain showing up in your community like you all have done today, tangible change becomes not only possible, but probable. Hampton and the Black Panther Party provided free breakfast to the children of Chicago. They led educational programs for those who wouldn't normally have access to them. But the FBI and the Chicago cops assassinated him as he slept next to his pregnant wife, because he threatened the power structures that oppress those who dare to speak out, who dare to demand change, and to challenge the status quo. History shows us that when these movements become effective, power will, and does, respond. But that's exactly why courage and the community that we're all in here today must go hand in hand. Hampton famously said that you can't build a revolution with no education. And so the very fact that you're all here listening, engaged, questions, wanting to learn more is a testament to his central organizing premise, making you all organizers. Educating ourselves and others and habitually and proudly continuing this mutual effort for change and for the liberation of all of our communities ensures that we will win. Fred Hampton said, if you dare to struggle, you dare to win. If you dare not struggle, then damn it, you don't deserve to win. Solidarity here is not symbolic. It is strategic. It is necessary. So I implore you today, keep up the good work, stay in that fight, take care of yourselves and others, and we'll dare to get through this struggle together. All power to the people. Thank you so much.
Could you expand on this whole Katie Hobbs thing that you approved?
Sure. So the Miranda prison facility used to be a Miranda prison, much like Eloy or Florence, but it has been defunct for I think about 10 years or somewhere. So it was just sitting there. The plot of land is just sitting there. The building is still sitting there, and so the state of Arizona wanted to get some revenue for that for that sale, and a private prison company, of course, MTC, which stands for Management Training Company, put in a bid, and Katie Hobbs accepted it, signed it, and sold it. So now that state prison, which used to be, in the hands of the state, is now completely under the jurisdiction of MTC itself. They have not formally signed an ICE agreement, but it's one of those things that is just very much implied with how the Trump administration is expanding detention in Arizona. They bought that Surprise facility. They're trying to push this Miranda facility. So that is something that was unilaterally approved by the governor, something that, while revenue for the state is important, and, providing resources for the people here is important. I think that the sale of a, prison company of $7.4 million to the state is not only a drop in the bucket here, but also not nearly worth it. No amount of money is worth it to, put our communities and our community members in harm's way. So.
Yes, so, one quick question. One of the things that I've seen on the news, you show papers, ICE doesn't care, or, is it really necessary to have an original, or can you,
That's a great question. Yeah, no, that's a great question. We've got that multiple times. We like to recommend that if you have the original, that is usually the best one, to have, because copies of it, we could see, ICE or DHS or, other law enforcement seeing a copy of it and being like, oh, well, this is just printed out. This could have been photoshopped. Like, you're not actually trying to do this thing. So the originals are important, but also, again, that runs the risk of maybe you have the original and it gets damaged or it gets taken or stolen or anything like that. So it's one of those things where maybe having like the original in your car or on your person where it's not necessarily going to be at a high risk of being stolen, but if you're walking around or you're at a protest or things like that, especially if you're of mixed status or anything like that, having a copy like in your pocket. So then at least you have both, things like that. So yeah.
Just in general, what occurs to me is, we're highly educated, we're basically informed. You, in a very quick presentation, talked about, the legal responsibilities. How is it that we can help facilitate reaching out? For example, you talked about Puente as a hotline. Are there ways that an organization like that or that one itself has contacts with the Hispanic community, which then can be forwarded to various community action groups?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So Puente is the group that across the state of Arizona runs the largest rapid response network. So they are connected not only to neighborhoods and to communities in the Phoenix area and across the state, but that hotline is shared on not only our Know Your Rights presentations, but Know Your Rights presentations by almost all advocacy organizations doing this kind of work. So that is something that we encourage people to use because they have that central database of tips that come in, making sure that they're legit. And then they use, social media, all different platforms. They use text alerts, they use calls, email blasts, things like that, where when they verify that information that there's been an ICE sighting or an ICE action, they're able to send that out to this vast network of people. So, it streamlines it to give people that hotline to tell them to send in photos and videos and any kind of information that you have if you see an ICE sighting specifically, with your own eyes, and then they're able to, handle the rest. That way there's not too many, cooks in the kitchen and everything is sent to one central place.
Oh,
yes.
Is the hotline number on that ACLU card there?
It is not, but I can write it on a piece of paper out here so people can, take that down too.
That'd be good.
Yes, ma'am.
Have there been ICE actions here in Sedona?
Not that I'm aware of. But again, we have also heard after the fact that ICE are impersonating, state agencies and, other people where they're not necessarily showing who they are. There was a case actually on our website. We wrote about this in a blog post, but there was a case a few months ago in southern Tucson where this community member, Christine, had been to one of these Know Your Rights presentations, knew about the warrant, specifically the judicial warrant, but needing a warrant to go in. There were TEP, Tucson Electric Power agents walking around this person's neighborhood. Christine had seen them across the street, knew that there had been TEP people there for the past few days, like fixing a phone line or whatever, but these people just looked a little off. She went outside. She's white and she is a citizen, and she went outside. She saw that, there was a badge peeking out from under one of these guys' shirts. They were ICE agents. They dressed up as TEP utility workers to try to go into someone's house. Christine saw that. They went up, they tried to knock on the door. As the person opened their door, luckily they had a screen door there. As the person opened their door, Christine yelled from the other side of the street, "They don't have a warrant. They don't have a warrant." The ICE agents heard that, TEP workers, and they knew that they couldn't get in. And that person immediately closed their door. Christine went and talked to them, made sure they had those resources, shared the kind of resources that we're sharing today. And, South Tucson is a safer place because of it. So just because we don't see, ICE agents in, their, military makeup gear because they're, wannabes, doesn't mean that they're not here. But as far as confirmed reports, I haven't heard of any, no.
We have a question from somebody on Zoom.
Yes.
She asked, ICE has broken every law you mentioned. Can police arrest them for doing so? And why haven't they? Attorney General's role? Is it the Attorney General's role?
Great question. Great question. Yeah, that's another thing. Well, ICE agents and police, law enforcement in general, to know your rights is important. To exercise them is important. It's also very important to remember that law enforcement has a habit of, and especially ICE, of violating those rights, regardless of whether you have them or not. It's a shitty thing to know, but it is also the reality. With ICE brutalizing people specifically, we have seen some district attorneys, Larry Krasner in Philadelphia. We have seen Laura Conover in Tucson. They have put together this like coalition of district attorneys, and they name themselves FAFO, which is, I think, something along like attorneys defending something, but it actually stands for fuck around and find out. They're saying that that coalition of district attorneys is working not only with the law enforcement that they oversee, but also with their partners across the country, making sure that if they see abuses by ICE, that the Tucson PD or others will show up to hold them accountable. I haven't heard of any confirmed reports of police arresting ICE agents. I believe that if someone breaks the law, then that is the way that things are supposed to go. I would hope that more district attorneys and more legislators and more people come out in support of what these few district attorneys are trying to do. But again, it's one of those really difficult things where then that sets up a jurisdictional fight with the federal government. So there's a lot of murkiness there, but it is very important that I think we should continue to push our elected leaders to hold ICE accountable in whatever way they possibly can, because they do have power, even if they say that they don't, even if they're in the minority, they do have power and they should exercise it.
Thank you.
Perfect.
That was last. I think future questions might come to you as well.
Of course.
Why don't I bring up Ann Emerson now? Ann and Lori Ligario are on an action team started by Indivisible Sedona months ago. And they've been doing great work on immigration at the local level. So, Ann, you want to tell them what you're doing?
We have taken the group that was started in Indivisible Sedona, and we have taken it out into the community. It's now called the Verde Valley Immigrant Collaboration. Go ahead.
Verde Valley Immigration Action Coalition.
Don't you just read the card? I'm so glad Harrison did that presentation. I don't have to talk about it now. Anyway, we have started a local group, and our focus is educating the immigrant community and the people that want to work with the immigrant community. So we have a Know Your Rights presentation in English and Spanish. We took the ACLU zine and expanded on it. I'm also on the board of the ACLU Arizona, so I can call people up and say, I need stuff. And so, I'll wait. Okay.
Something was sticking out of your pocket, so I figured I'd help you.
Okay. So anyway, we took the information that was available and a group of us expanded it. We have not only do we have the ACLU zine in English and Spanish, which is what we give out to the community. We also have QR codes for every one of these organizations. Puente, Allende, who else do we have?
I think we have.
Oh, yeah. Aliento, the Arizona Dream Action Coalition, Know Your Rights Red Cards, Know Your Rights Video, United We Dream, Northern Arizona Immigration Legal Rights, Florence Project, la. So anyway, these are groups. I got 10 minutes, These are groups that will help support the immigrant community. And all they need to do is take their phones and take a picture, takes them right to the website. It's very effective. So for the past almost a year, we have been handing these out to the immigrant population through our gardeners, through our housekeepers, through our landscapers. And we have handed out hundreds and hundreds of these, and they are out in the community. And what I know from this is that when we take action to support our immigrants, we are doing good work. We have some focus. One of the things I have always wanted is world domination through community. So, our vision after expanding into the Verde Valley is we have now created a collaboration with Prescott, and they have great information. And we've expanded our connection to Flagstaff. So world domination in Northern Arizona is being accomplished through community, which is great. So I just want to tell you a brief story. Last week, we went to a Spanish-speaking church here in Sedona and did our Know Your Rights presentation. The third member of this team who's not here today, Mayra Garcia Hernandez, is a counselor at Mingus, and she's a native Spanish speaker. She's been through the whole system from undocumented to citizenship. And the three of us went to and did this presentation completely in Spanish. So Lori and I sat and didn't speak, which was fine. And there were about 20 people. And once they realized that we weren't trying to trick them into something, they really opened up. They asked questions. They were grateful for the material that we gave them. They took lots to share with their families and their communities. And in that moment, after we were done, one man came up to me, and Lori was standing next to me, and he said, "You have no idea how important this is to us." He says, "What you're doing is not only giving us education, but you're letting us know that the community out there supports us." And I almost burst into tears, to know that the work we're doing is actually really helping people in our community. So he said there were probably 30 to 50 people who did not show up for our presentation because they were frightened. But we now get to go back and present to the rest of that community. And so what we're looking for as we expand is we are putting some groups together. We're looking for we have a hotline number that people can call. We have a card here. And we include it with our packet, our little paqueta, with our red card and our card it's a Google number that people can call 24/7. And we're looking for Spanish-speaking people who are bilingual or Spanish-speaking to take help out with the hotline. The thing is the truth is there's not a lot of action up here, but we really want our people to be educated. So we have had calls. Meyer has been able to talk and help people out. Ellen called me, 3 weeks ago? Ben Shore, who's Corey. Hi. She had her housekeeper's sister was picked up at Safeway and taken. In Cottonwood.
Yeah.
And she called Ellen. Ellen called me, and I put it into our system. Myra called and spoke to the sister and was helpful getting them legal support. And as of last week, she was released from detention. And so we are having, little but beautiful successes here. So what we want to do is we want to expand our Know Your Rights training to allies. We are allies of the immigrant community. And what we're doing is people who are interested, we have a presentation on the Know Your Rights card. And, you watch it for an hour, and then we have a survey afterwards that people have to complete. And when they have completed that, they can go out into the community. Because one of the things that's really important about approaching the immigrant community is these people are frightened. They don't know who to trust. So when some white person comes up and says, "Here, have a red card," that's it's scary. So what we are doing is building relationships with the community. so that they know we're trustworthy. They know we can stand with them. So we're looking for people to take that training. And then what we do is we walk around with our little packets and like early on, I talked to Toby, had her landscaper there, and I talked to him and I said, would you like some Know Your Rights material? He took 50 of them. My gardener has taken, I mean, the thing is that community is so well connected. It's like you have this little packet and you give it to, you talk to a person and you say, how many people would you like? How many of these would you like? That's how we've handed out hundreds. They are, there's just, it's like their network, is so well connected. The one time we thought there was don't worry, no. Toby's got more.
Just want to say we rented out 1,000 to the
Okay.
food bank.
Great.
They're going to pass them out this weekend in the boxes that you.
Yeah. So if you have just really basic training and know how to approach the community, you talk to people you don't go up to people that are strangers, but if you know, anybody in the immigrant community, and you don't say, are you undocumented? How you approach them is say, do you know anybody in your community that might be served by having this information? And then they can take it without worrying about, that we're nailing them for being undocumented. That's really important. It's really important to be respectful of this community. So the other thing we're starting to work on is we have a woman in Prescott who's been masterful at putting together the family packets. Harrison spoke about it briefly, but it's a series of documents that families who are undocumented, they get all the information together, so if they're picked up, we have material that they can authorize a member of their family or their community who is documented to take their children so they don't go into the system. So we're looking for people to train to do that, to sit down with people who are, who need the information and train them. So we're looking to do a 2-outlet.
And that you do not need to necessarily be a Spanish speaker, because usually they come with at least one person that can translate. So
Yeah, so that's something every one of us can do, help, get educated on how to help them fill out this paperwork and then meet them in safe places, like a church or, somebody's home. And so we're looking for family packet trainers. We also are looking to expand and create a system for US born citizens to get passports, because that is the gold standard of an identification. And also children that are born here, we just found out, we're starting to expand into this, is that their undocumented parents can take them to the consulate of their place of birth, and the consulate can help them get passports so that the parents don't have to be exposed. Yeah, I knew it. She's gonna get the damn hook out. So anyway, if I will tell you, if you are interested in taking a step to really get active and help us support our community, I'm going to give you some paper. Just put your name, phone number, and email. We do not use this list for anything other than communicating with you about your involvement. And it can be from, you can start with just a little bit of involvement to getting involved in rapid response, which is a whole other story. And Julie Finette in Cottonwood is in charge of that. So, yeah.
and also, if you're not interested in doing the Know Your Rights stuff, approaching people or whatever, we are building a list of volunteers that will accompany people, like to doctor's appointments, or go out and shop for them, or help do laundry when, if the situation gets so bad here that people are really afraid to leave their house.
So anyway, this is the Verde Valley Immigration Action Group, and please feel free to join us. Toby, what do you want to say, sweetheart?
Just that there's another piece of paper in that package that you added that has the number of for people to call if they do see ICE in their community?
Yeah, it's the hotline number.
Yeah, the hotline number, sure. Yeah, since I only had 10 minutes, which I probably took 500, right?
Not quite. Thank you, Annie. Let's hear it for Ann. Community, we want to get Kim.
And if anybody would like to see what we're passing out, I have some. Feel free. I'll make sure you are able to.
Yeah, there's a lot going on behind the scenes in this community. The action group is listed on the DORR website. So if you need to contact Ann or Lori, their contact information is on our website. I'm sorry, and there may be questions afterwards, but I did promise Kim Khatibi. I'm not.
You've almost got it. It's Khatibi.
Khatibi. Okay, good. Kim is the executive director of something called the Literacy Center in Flagstaff, and they do work all over northern Arizona. And it's good that you know about them and what they're doing. So Kim, I'll pass this on to you now.
Okay, perfect. Thank you guys so much for your time. I wish I could have made it down the hill to warmer weather. I'm really encouraged by all the work that's being done down there. I talked to Lori, I think a couple of weeks ago. So I was going to share my PowerPoint with you all, but I know we're running out of time. So I can give you just our background and some information, and then ways we would love to partner or get involved with you all. So my name's Kim Khatibi. I'm the executive director for the Literacy Center. Some of you may be familiar with us. We started off about 30 years ago as Coconino County Literacy Volunteers, and it was a group of citizens that just really saw a need in the community for people that needed to learn English, and their reading skills were, at a lower level. And fast forward 32 years later, we offer literacy services in the schools. We have early literacy programs. We teach our own English language classes. We have GED. We teach civics and citizenship. We have one-on-one tutoring. So literacy has been our foundation. About 2 years ago, NAILS, which is Northern Arizona Immigration Legal Services, was its own nonprofit. They dissolved and they became one of our programs. And so we have a program for immigration legal services. And this is a really unique facet of our organization. We're serving the same people. We've built a lot of trust in our community, working with the immigrant community. So seeing that bridge of, you took classes with us, and now you feel comfortable finding out if there's a pathway to status, or you're coming in for immigration services and you want to improve your English, has been really beautiful for us. With the NAILS program, this is something I learned when I joined the organization. So our representative is a Department of Justice accredited representative, to be able to practice certain aspects of immigration law. And so she's not an attorney, but she's gone through a lot of training to be able to do that. And as a nonprofit, we can have a DOJ accredited representative do that work for us. So I just wanted to share with you a little bit about what we're seeing. So since the election, we've seen a 300% increase in people coming through our doors, wanting to learn English, wanting help with immigration status. It has just been unreal, the amount of people that are coming through our doors. And so we offer classes at our center, our ESL classes, our civics and citizenship classes. We are always watching to see what the comfort level of our community is, and we have diversified a lot in our offerings. We have classes at the center. We are in local schools, which is new for us, where families might feel more comfortable to do ESL classes. We have a teacher out in Williams who teaches at the library. We will shift to Zoom if people begin to feel uncomfortable. And so we're just seeing a lot of need for one-on-one tutoring for people that want to learn English, want to get a driver's license, want to work on those skills to help them get their GED. And then for our immigration services, we have appointments, we have walk-in services on Wednesday nights. And we have on our website the paquetas, the prepared packets. We are handing out red cards. We take a lot of material with us out in the community. I'm doing tabling events at schools and community organizations, and I always share literacy programs. And then I also have information on our immigration services. So we have just seen a lot of success with that. Families coming to get information on literacy, and then also here's some information on immigration services if you know someone who needs that. Our staff is very small, so I'm the only full-time person. I have 2 part-time people, including Grace, who's our Department of Justice accredited representative, and then it's about 200 volunteers at a time that carry out this work. So it's really amazing the power of community and people who care about people. And I feel like I get to see through our organization the best part of humanity. You see the best part of volunteers and donors wanting to help. You see the best part of our learners. We have some learners that are more advanced and are now beginning to teach Spanish classes for volunteers, or wanting to do some of that outreach to also serve our organization. So it is beautiful. We don't take any federal or state funding. That was intentional, so that you don't have to share information and we can be flexible. Some of the other organizations, like our community college, offers ESL classes and GED classes, and that's the first question they ask on their student application. And so for us, that seems to, help build that trust and for that not to be a barrier. Ways to get involved. So we are looking for volunteers. We have volunteers. We see people come up from Yavapai County, Coconino County, Williams, Fredonia, Prescott, Sedona. We just worked with a woman to get her green card from Sedona who was traveling up. So getting information out to these communities so that they know that we have the NAILS program, or if they want to work one-on-one with a tutor on English skills or want to attend some of our classes online, I think is our #1 priority. And then getting some volunteers or working with volunteers that are already established to help provide some of these services, training them as tutors or teachers, or having them work with our NAILS program. Any information we have, we would love to share with you all. I think that's about it. Any questions for me or feedback?
Kim, I don't have a question. I'm sorry, this is Shelley from DORR. I will be sending out the video of this presentation. And if you want to share your slides, I will put my email in the chat, in a private chat to you, and then you can send it to me and I'll include that.
Okay, that's fabulous. Yes, our slideshow, I tried to put everything on there we offer, but I feel like I might not have done it justice. So I'll send that. I'll put my email in the chat. I would love to come down and do some tabling events. We give out a lot of free books. I do a lot of literacy, events, open houses, kindergarten registration. When the school year starts, we're helping parents read through and fill out some of that paperwork. So if there's any opportunities like that to get out in the community so that we can share this information, please invite me. And I am more than happy to come.
All right. Thank you, Kim.
Thank you so much.
Have questions for any of our speakers today? Okay. There are a lot of people with such good hearts, and there's so much for us to learn. This room should be packed. Frankly, we should be in a bigger room, and that bigger room should be packed. So please tell your friends about these breakfasts. Tell them everyone is interesting. They are all being taped, by the way, and appear on the DORR YouTube channel. On YouTube, you can find any of these breakfasts. Next month, we have a guy named Steve Shear that's going to speak to us. He is a specialist in PAC scams. when you get those emails that are so convincing and heart-wrenching, and please, if we could only get $3 from you, we can save the world. There's a lot of those. We're all inundated with those emails. Some are good, some are not. And Steve is going to talk to us about how you can tell where your money is going and who you should not give it to. So thank you all very much for coming today. Hold on, Kathy.
General announcement. As you leave, you might be asked to sign petitions by certain people. Some of them have petitions for they're running for precinct committee people. And we talked about that before. They were coordinated. Precinct committee people are your sort of go-to contacts. And we also have Tony with us, who's running for the Sonoma City Council. Take care of signing his petition so he can run and win.
The city council is up. There's 2 seats going for the city council in Sedona. Petitions are in the DORR office, so if you want to stop by there, you can sign them too. But I want to once again thank these guys, Harrison and Chloe, for driving all the way up here from Phoenix. You did a great job. I hope that Kim has a nice snow day in Flagstaff. Thank Ann and her people and Laurie for all they're doing here. So thank you for coming. We appreciate it.